Here we are yet again in Grand Theft Auto 5, with the vague and vacuous goal of uncovering even more interesting and overlooked details hiding in plain sight. This goal is accomplished by looking for anything that you might have missed, from the larger and more obvious to the smaller and dumber. These are the most overlooked details in Grand Theft Auto 5. Welcome to Ludendorff, North Yankton. This is of course where GTA 5 began. For a location seen only twice, it has a surprising amount of detail. The Bobcat Security Depot is probably the best place to start. The main area is where we begin the game, and it passes by really quickly. However, it's also packed with detail. It's Christmas time in Ludendorff, so the decorations are up, and specifically there are a lot of Christmas cards around the place. There's a Cluck and Bell card with a custom Crimbo logo, a couple cards with images of North Yankton, a more generic card, and whatever the hell this is. There are some more Merry Christmas cards and one that says "Come down my chimney," and a snowman card. Inside all of them they just say "Merry Christmas." Behind these Christmas cards is a warning that the alarm here is linked to the police. However, it uses the seal of the city of Los Santos. For security purposes, all weapons including firearms, batons, maces, and blades are required to be declared and surrendered. Failure to do so will lead to prosecution. Behind where the player initially spawns, there are some newspapers and a couple of magazines, some of which are custom made for this room and time period. This 2002 release of the A to Z list is a special art issue. Affordable art shows plus American photography, coolest contemporary galleries, arty eateries, and hottest new talent and who to avoid. Invest now. Plus, the best things to do under $10 in 3 of our major cities, including vouchers. This is issue 63 of Talkin' Bulls magazine, released in January of 2002. 30 strikers to look out for, reviewed by our panel of experts. It makes mention of the Liberty Cox Football Club versus the Super Strikers, both of which are mentioned in GTA 4 and its DLCs. I even found a Super Strikers flag in Comrade's Bar a few videos back. The rivals give us access all areas, plus interviews with both coaches. That's pretty boring. As for newspapers, I can't make out the date on this Daily Globe newspaper, but I think it's a 2011 paper. It does have a picture of modern Los Santos. Another one says Fruit wins portable music player battle, which definitely would have been around this time. Around here there's references to Lombank, suggesting they handle the banking here. In the teller area there's a lot of appropriate items such as these security monitors that show views of the outside, the garage door, and the area at the back of the building. On the desk there are some security VHS tapes and some regular tapes. How interesting. Along the back wall there's appropriately some raincoats and Wellingtons, as well as some lady pics. On the shelves there are some seemingly custom-made security tapes, which aren't VHS. On the wall here is a Blick flashlight charger, a model T1000. It's a killer design. Out back, going towards the vault area, are some bits on the wall, like this notice. Remember to clock in and out at reception. Please keep fire exit shut at all time. As part of health and safety procedures, please pay attention to the health and safety notices around this location. Failure to do so may result in injury or death. And then it repeats to fill the page. I gotta respect it. Nearby the security depot is this frozen river, which I'm sure we're all familiar with. And I decided to follow it south to find out where it came from. Turns out it comes from some pipes that you would likely never see during regular gameplay. Ludendorff is of course home to the Midwest's largest beaver, and he is quite a big boy. The sign next to him says, "The Ludendorff beaver was built in 1987. It took 4 months to build." At 10 meters tall, the huge beaver is famous for being the biggest of its kind in the Midwest. There's more text underneath, but it's completely obscured, besides the words 2 and the number 2000. The beaver has over time sustained quite a bit of damage. It's filled with holes, and it is literally held together with duct tape. The small town of Ludendorff has a population of 918, and a detail count of like 10, but there's a lot here that most players would likely have never noticed. This coffee shop, for example, is probably the first building you'll see when you roll in. It's a cheap shot coffee shop, one of a few that can be found around GTA 5. The Pollock Cinema is showing a variety of movies from their future. Movies that already have advertisements all around Los Santos, so they're a little out of place here. There's a small convenience store on this road with a completely unique window texture, one that holds a couple of highly compressed details. Right in the middle is an image of a real car. Christ knows what the model is. This picture of a man and a woman reminds me a lot of Max Payne and Mona Sachs, though it looks like this is something completely different. This poster for mobile phones says, "Family plan, phone sale, $50. Aside from the large $49, I can't make out much else, except for the fact that these seem like really old phones. Now, I have absolutely no knowledge of North American carriers, but after an extensive 5 minutes of research, I have determined that this looks like a poster for Metro PCS. This logo at the top is completely illegible. However, we can make out the color and general shape of this word, as well as the larger orange letters next to it. It looks a lot like the Metro PCS logo to me. Ludendorff Locksmiths is very creatively named, well done team. And next door is Klepto's Pawn Store, which, yeah, that one's pretty good. This garage texture is also pretty cool. Like everything else here, it is ultra compressed. The pharmacy seems to use the same model as the coffee shop, so there's not much to see on this one. That is besides the faded advertisement up top for Globe Oil, featuring a Sabre Turbo /GT. Ludendorff Hardware is North Yankton's premium hardware store, established 1978. That's all I got for that one. Ludendorff is decently detailed, and I'm glad to have this little slice in GTA 5. From what you see here, it's not hard to imagine how the rest of this town might look. Let's take a look at the farmhouse area now, and if you thought there wouldn't be any interesting details here, you'd be right. Well, that is besides what I found in the window of this house, which seems to be an LG air conditioning unit. Specifically the model LWHD1006RY7. Probably. Inside the house is a Christmas tree, which can be seen through this window. This isn't a 3D tree though, it's just a 2D image of a tree. The cemetery doesn't have much of interest, to be honest. Most of these graves appear across GTA 5's map, but I don't recall seeing any of the fancier resting places anywhere else, but I could be wrong and I probably am. AH and CM Callan share this one. Fondly remembered father and guide. Forever together. This stone statue is actually reused from GTA 4, where it once loomed over one of the northern entrances to Middle Park. Ludendorff is such an interesting place, and I really hope there's some form of prologue or flashback in a different location for GTA 6. In keeping with additional locations for this game, let's take a look at a few places across Cayo Perico, which has a few interesting things your eyes may have just glossed over. The special rooms that hold all of the loot have some unique pictures hung up on the wall, and all around the compound there are lots of pictures made in Red Dead Redemption 2, like this one of the German woman from Dewberry Creek. This other picture is of her kids. There's El Rubio fishing on a yacht, a couple outside of a church, and El Rubio in a Los Santos jail. There are also various decorations around. Another room has 4 pictures, including another picture of that same German family. El Rubio at the LS golf course, the rear of the Epsilon building, German. This third room has quite a few more pictures. The main photo is of some people at Emerald Ranch. This picture speaks for itself. Here's El Rubio flying a plane. There's a group outside of a small home found somewhere in Red Dead. There's a picture of El Rubio likely tripping multiple balls. And an image of him at the Richmond mansion with some uncomfortable looking women. Up in the office, there are quite a few more unique pictures, like this picture of the German children with a dog, and El Rubio with a woman on a romantic Los Santos evening. Could well be his mum. There's a photo of him with Simeon at the dealership. What a strange choice. Here he is again with some friends. Somewhere. Here's a guy on a horse. Here's another old lady, perhaps the same old lady as that one. And this is, of course, yet another image from Red Dead Redemption 2. Above the desk is something that's easily missed. An image of a snake wrapped around a hand with the text Mit offen Armen, with open arms, according to Google Translate. There's even a lion's head high above the fireplace. It's probably reused from Red Dead Redemption 2, just at a much lower quality and without all the fur. There are lots of cardboard boxes around GTA 5, and some of them bear this image of a fish, which you might recognize as the logo for Belly Up Seafood, though they're all dated for 2009. These can of course also be found in GTA 4. Inside this hangar turned warehouse there are lots of boxes. Some are from Jimmy Shipping Incorporated, Dublin and Edinburgh. There are lots of boxes bearing the logo for Liberty State Delivery, which, as you can imagine, was the postal service featured in GTA 4. To finish up, I did find these tequila bottles, which aren't unique to the island, of course, but it's a good chance to take a read. Tequila, distilled the traditional way, with a mind-blowing tripping worm, guaranteed to get you totally munted. Watch out for the 3-day come down. For the uncultured, munted means to get destroyed, or in this context, heavily drunk. It's synonymous with hammered, wasted, or fucked up. I think it's time we headed back to San Andreas to take a look at some more interiors with interesting details. Dr. Friedlander's office has a lot of psychiatric knickknacks and whatnot, including a lot of books. All relevant ones too, like clinical diagnosis of psychological disorders. Clinical? Missing a letter there, champ. It wouldn't be an overlooked details video without a spelling mistake. Neurogentics and diagnosis. Cognitive behavior therapy. Situations, thoughts, feelings, actions. The textbook of psychiatric theory and psychology of well-being. Emotional processing and function during therapy. There's also 3 volumes of psychological disorders. There's another version of this book on the doctor's desk. There's also a few magazines that seem to have been specifically made for this interior, including Psych Magazine, Tai Chi vs. Yoga, A Fight to the Death, Tarot, Is Taurus All Bull? True Stories, My Lobotomy Led to Love, 3 on a Couch photos. We have Brains Quarterly, What's on Your Mind, Electrotherapy Special, Shrink in the Wash, The Spinal Columnist, Making You Think. There's a copy of Shrink Monthly behind BQ, but most of it is obscured. But through the power of moving the camera, I can quickly find an identical magazine on a table nearby. Inside the mind of Dr. Ivor Van Lysens. Charge like a pro. 101 terms to baffle patients with. In Two Minds, Split Personality Disorder Special, and How to Charge Double. Includes a cutout and keep certificate. The barbershops like Hair on Howick are absolutely packed with detail, especially for such a small room. There's a massive amount of images on the wall that you've likely never taken the time to peruse. This is the African-American gents hairstyle chart from the Los Santos Blade Company, including a suspicious amount of white people. The address for the company, for whatever reason, says San Andreas. Here's one of the few Vinewood sign photos with unusually black terrain behind the sign. There's a picture of Pleasure Pier and a postcard. It's totally beachin'. They have a price list on the wall with no prices listed. Captain Birdseye. Here's a street. And here's the real street. This place is at the Alamo Sea, next to one of the triathlon locations. This photo is around the Maze Bank Arena looking towards the airport. There are way more trees than in the original release, and even the current release of GTA 5. This image of the old Vinewood sign inspired a small section of my Discover San Andreas video. I will always love a look into GTA's past. Here's an image of the golf club. Here's another one that's implied to be older, but also of the golf club. Can you guess where this heavily wooded area is? That's right, it's the golf club. Seriously, this is a section of the golf course as far as I can tell. This place is wild, literally. It looks a lot more like the course from GTA 5's original trailer. This was likely changed for resource management so they could have more trees elsewhere. This is likely a pretty old image of the game, but I did find where this is. It's in Vespucci. This one's interesting as it shows an image of this very barbershop earlier in development. I'm comfortable enough saying that this looks drastically different. Here's another angle of the shop. You can see that there are quite a few differences here too, and they seem to have only 3 placeholder pictures repeated a bunch of times. I looked around the map for this bastard for a long time, and I've concluded that this street, or at the very least these buildings, don't exist. Upon browsing the internet for answers, others seem to confirm that this isn't anywhere. This image is of the famous Oriental Theatre. There's a ship, a bigger ship, this fella, some more fellas, and a more detailed and less white buyer's guide for black men and boys. This one from the Association of American Barbershops. My personal favorite is of course the tire tread, though I can think of at least one cheaper way to achieve this. I got nothing for this. Nothing. Where's this? What's that? Plus Galileo Observatory. And we also can't forget these images of Los Santos. The first has a lot of white, and I mean a lot, And this isn't snow. This is definitely a pretty early screenshot of the map, because it clearly doesn't look right. This other one showcases a building that was changed entirely during development. Here's the Sisyphus Theatre. Aside from the blue chairs, you might have also noticed these large white squares, which to me look like large screens. It looks a little different in the final game. On the opposite wall, that's right, there's more, we have the barbershop in Davis, which has an identical interior. And we can see that in the final game it underwent quite a few color and texture changes. Finally, there's this map of the world. Alongside all of these wonderful photographs, there are some other bits like this poster for the Davis Jamboree Jazz Band, with special guests, Moira and the Vibros, at the Davis Community Center on Wednesday the 6th. There's a couple of business cards too for Doherty Carpentry Services, a limited liability company. This is for Paddy Doherty, a carpenter, if you can believe it. Also Evil Eddie Tattoos, large commissions, something projects. And Homework, Eddie Bateman, proprietor. Cows may come, cows may go, but the bull in this place goes on forever. If your heart is not in America, then you better get your ass out. There are also some flags for the UCLS Bookworms and the Los Santos Panic basketball team. And not to forget the Pounders and the Los Santos Shrimps. There's a few magazines and books on this table, and we've already seen Cloak and Swagger before, but let's take a look at the others. The Los Santos Newsmonger Special Report, Blockbust, Is the Sun Setting on Vinewood? We drop in on Rehab Island for a drink. And here's Los Santos Magazine. Here comes the fun, it's the beach issue. We review all of Los Santos' beaches. Best beach books written in sand, Avoiding the Scum down at Vespucci. Photo Special, Skimpy Beachwear put to the test. Oil Me Back Sun Lotion Trial, Great Anorex Offers. Next is the Liberty Cox FC Official Guide. This might say something like Edition 09, which would make sense, or Edition 69, which would also make sense. There's also baseball's most fabulous legends. Read their stories. Okay, so I have a question. Who the hell was in charge of decorating this place? Was this their only job during development? This place is absolutely packed. I love it. How's about we rapid fire through a few details before we move on to our next interior? And I've got a lot of cool shit that you probably haven't seen, with buildings such as floor skin hardwood coverings. I mean, need I say more? The Spines bookshop opposite Legion Square is very unassuming, but the picture used for the window is of the inside of what looks like a takeaway, complete with a Pepsi machine. Here's the Pirate Music Store on Howick Avenue, a brand that first appeared in Grand Theft Auto 4 with a much more 2008 logo. Either way, there are some interesting posters in the window, like Blow Me Down, Sales Sale from 1 cent. Fantastic. These are just reused images from around the game world, not actual albums in GTA. However, these look a little more believable. There's that, Die, Shit, and Liberty City, motherfucker. Take a look at this must-have booty! 5 top DVDs from $10. Again, these aren't real DVDs in the world of GTA, just random stuff. And who could forget Itchy Crack Pizza Stack? Next door to this is Curb Crawler Skateboards, which has a lot of recognizable art plastered all over the decks in the window. Reaper, Liberty City motherfucker, Fight Me, they're all here. I especially like the Liberty City Hit Squad board. This billboard for Hot Pants features a voodoo, and the license plate says Player 1. The San Andreas countryside has a tourism trail that you can follow. No fires, no vehicles, stick to the country code. All animals and children must be kept on restraints. Atop a few of the mountains in the countryside, there are some interesting signs that showcase the area in front of them. Here's Raton Canyon sign, which shows and labels the areas around the canyon. There's another at the peak of Mount Chiliad showing the view of southern San Andreas, including Los Santos, Sandy Shores, and even Grapeseed. Just outside Sandy Shores, there's one more map showing the view of Mount Chiliad, which includes this image of an old house. Claimed by the Spanish in 1769, Mount Chiliad is the highest peak in San Andreas, sitting at a height of 2,477 meters. Taken under Mexican control in 1821, it was then and remains in American hands since 1847. 1948 saw a huge rise in inhabitants due to the Los Santos gold rush, with many small towns forming and remaining to this day. The railway was added in 1869. Back in Los Santos, I saw this phone store called Phones and Things, and wouldn't you know it, it features a photo of Luis Lopez's phone from the Ballad of Gay Tony. Speaking of phones, I'm sure that you've seen these ads for the iFruit 9iX, or is it 99? Anyway, this can be found in many places, including the airport, and it seems to be a newer version of Michael's phone, while at the same time featuring what seems to be earlier versions of the app icons. These can also be seen on an ad for Badger on various billboards, though this one has a red background. A separate iFruit phone shows up at the top of the Badger building, and this phone also shows an earlier version of the Jobs icon. At the airport is this building, we've all seen it, it's the Sightings Bar and Restaurant, but have you had a look through its windows? Inside are a bunch of tables and chairs, all very low poly and low detail, but the floor is extremely colourful, purposefully so, as the real-life equivalent of this building also has a very colourful interior. I do wonder if this building was intended to be accessible very early in the map's development. If you look at the layout in here, it seems to be designed so that a player could navigate it easily. I can't think of any other explanation. I went back to the Los Santos County Coroner to see if I missed anything outside. Serving communities with science fact. I definitely overlooked the fact that they sell souvenirs here. We also get a better look at the seal of the Department of Coroner, which includes a bong and a bullet. There's another little slogan on here that says the Dead Center of San Andreas, which is great, except an almost identical slogan can be found at the Strawberry Mortuary, which reads, the Dead Center of Los Santos. This one wins, it's prettier. I covered Sagma in an earlier video, and that has an interior behind its glass, but I failed to notice that the Mountback Gallery is actually just an identical building to this, not too far away. And it seems to have the same interior, just with different pieces of art from artist Chris Udan-Boji. I got that wrong. As a part of the Pieces of Matter collection. The Pump and Run Gymnasium has a custom gym interior, with some very low poly treadmills and weights and such. Let's check out even more hidden interiors, like inside Jazz Desserts. You probably never noticed that this is a decently sized restaurant. This is the kind of interior that most, if not all, restaurants like this use in the game. It appears to be quite modular, so they can easily make it as big or small as they'd like. Even so, there's quite a bit more detail in here than one might expect, all for something most people will likely never see. Taco Libre is another example of this restaurant interior being used. That's Taco Libre, real Mexican food. I love this place. We'll look at the menu in a second, but check out this tiny interior. It is truly minuscule. Okay, here's the menu. There's tacos, burritos, tortas, quesadillas, and tostadas. Soda plus juices? I'm gonna get burrito with tongue. This is an al dente's on Vespucci Beach. Inside is a different restaurant/bar texture that is also used throughout various locations on the map. Upon further inspection, I can conclude that this texture used for the bar is actually an early screenshot of the bar in Tequila La. A couple things have been changed, but this is definitely the same bar. You can even see one of the pictures behind the bottles. Since we're now talking all about Tequila La, we might as well just go in and take a look around the bar. Inside, there are lots of posters on the wall, and they're all great. The Ghouls Return, Morbidica, first coming in 666 years, plus support from Cautious Winds and Spookiers, coming this Friday, 10 p.m. $12. Ooh, Epic Motor Riders. Blarney's contains water, ground oyster shells, peat, roasted malted barley, hops, yeast, and water. Alright, I'm not sure who asked though. The Bokes. This Thursday from 8 p.m. This town loves their zombie bands. Demon Tofu, new album out now. A night of metal mayhem with Doombringers, Kiss of Death, and something from the darkest reaches of Liberty City, Swabs. And back in Los Santos, strap on for the return of the true originators of fuck all, the Gildos. All the hits including Roseanne Roseanne. It's the Battle of the Bands finals. The finalists are Squad Baboon, Box of Monsters, Captain Shut Your Mouth, Sleepy Kiki, Jim AA, The Onion, Craig83, and Hatchet Mills. This says something of small print information, and dates of events, other information, and text fillers, with an E on the end, for this poster to be at least a few lines long. Further venue information here, ticket pricing, date and time. Did they not know that this was going to be like the biggest poster in the bar? Because it sounds like they expected it to be very compressed and shrunk down quite a bit more than this. Now, the amount of detail in here is vast, and it's obvious that— I'm just kidding, we're not done with posters yet. All American Rock Music presents The Cockshaws and Clunge. One night only, this Friday. If you're an American and are unfamiliar with the word clunge, you might know it by some of its other names, like Lady Parts, Twinkle Cave, or Twat. Fatal Incursion, Prepare to Bleed. New album Insertion Required, featuring the new single Spurting So Bad, as featured on the soundtrack of Bloody Canyon, available at all pirate music stores. And then there's All Against All, who in January are visiting Location 1, in February another venue, and in March, final gig. We'll circle back to All Against All very shortly, so keep them in your mind for now. The amount of detail in here is vast, and it's obvious that this was supposed to be an interior that you could enter whenever. No crowd surfing, violators will be ejected. Also, no stage diving, they're watching you. As I mentioned, behind the bar there are some photographs, and they're actually photographs of earlier versions of Tequila La. This shows the main floor outside of the bar, and there's a few posters and signs that have changed position, but nothing too major. In this image, there's an early look at the stage area. Aside from the guitar being missing, the Love Fist logo actually used to be the logo for the band All Against All. I wonder if this is either a sign that the bar would have been opened before Trevor's one mission, or maybe this was before they even considered adding that mission in the first place. In this one, inside the DJ booth, we can once again see the old band logo on the curtains. On the stage, you might not have spotted that the maker of the drumhead is Rat-a-Tat Drums. Behind the front counter, I also found the business license for Tequila La, which was granted in 2011 for the start of 2012. This is definitely an updated license though, since the bar has canonically been open since at least the 1980s. I'd like to finish up this video by taking a look through Clockenbell Farms, a wondrous land of joy and flavor. Immediately as we enter through the door, we're greeted with lots and lots of chickens in cages, all of which are animated, but not to the degree of a regular animal in the game. They all have this little looping jiggle animation. Look at them go. There's a good amount of unique signs around the factory too, and I'll note them as we move through. But above these lockers we have, "Do not eat the produce. Because it tastes of chicken does not mean it is chicken. Danger. Do not choke the chickens. It can spoil the meat." Probably referencing this sign in GTA 4. At the bottom of all of these it says, "Putting job safety ahead of satisfaction." This factory has managed 3 days without a lost life. The previous record was 21. It's been 12 days without a liable accident. The previous record was 20. Work safe, work smart. Be aware, know your animals. Animal cow, suitable, no. Animal pig, suitable, no. Animal dog, suitable, maybe. Animal chicken, suitable, yes. Although once processed, most will taste of chicken. The next room is absolutely filled with jiggly chickens, stacked in some cases all the way to the ceiling. Look at all of those future nuggets to be, crispy hot wings and Clockenburgers and whatnot. Warning! Do not place cocks in machine. They are for breeding. This is the machine they're talking about, where chickens are taken through the step-by-step process of taking away life and adding deliciousness. They're first taken through this machine, which relieves the chickens of their heads. Next, they're moved to a vat of boiling liquid, which removes all of the feathers, where they can then move to the final step in the process. The chickens are then taken up into the next room, where when we next see them, they've been transformed into delicious cuts of meat. Warning! Operate nugget cutters carefully. Here's some large tubs of chicken goo and bone. If I had to see it, then so do you. They even have chicken goo in a bunch of cardboard boxes. This is the kind of gunk that your parents would tell you goes into a chicken nugget. Moving through to the back of the factory and towards the warehouse, there are lots of boxes on pallets, including cock meat. Product info may contain bones. Beak meat, produce of multiple countries, and breasts, taken from various chicken parts. These symbols, however, seem to imply that these do not in fact contain chicken, and I simply must pay lip service to the two hands cupping a pair of eggs. The warehouse is of course filled to the brim with these boxes, as well as various bags of chicken feed. And that brings this video to a close. Thank you so much for joining me for these details. And a special thank you to my members on YouTube and Patreon, including Captain tier members Person M5 and Lucky. Keep it breezy and take it sleazy.